my wife said she would spend a month with her ex-husband. So I let her go and took away the lifestyle she enjoyed so much. I remember clearly how this whole story started. We were at the breakfast table, as usual. I was sipping my coffee, while Andrea, my wife, flipped through the newspaper and stirred her tea absent-mindedly. Karen, my daughter up to 18 years old, was to my right, absorbed in her phone, as usual. The only sound in the room was the clinking of utensils and the rustling of newsprint. We've been married for 5 years, and while we've had some good times, lately things have changed. The relationship feels distant. Andrea has been through a lot in her life. Her divorce from Paolo, her ex-husband, was a nightmare. He beat her, ended up in jail, and she came out of that relationship in pieces, both physically and emotionally. Although Andrea doesn't talk much about that time, I can sense the tension in her voice every time she mentions it. We met months after she separated from him at a dinner party of mutual friends. From the first conversation, we connected. Her laughter lit up the room, and made me feel like, for the first time, someone was really listening to me. A year later, we were married. Karen, then 13, was included in the package. I knew that being a stepfather wasn't going to be easy, but I did my best to earn her trust. Although she was always polite to me, I never managed to break that barrier between us. I never tried to replace her father, but I did try to be someone she could trust. However, in the last few months, Andrea has become cold. Conversations are rare, intimacy is almost non-existent, and she always seems tired. But the worst thing is her phone. She doesn't let go of us for a second, and every time I enter the room, she quickly puts it away. I tried to convince myself that I was overreacting, but those leaf flags were impossible to ignore. Finally, I made a decision to hire a private investigator. It cost me dearly, but I needed to know the truth. And what I found out shocked me. Andrea was seeing Paolo, her ex-husband. The same man who once destroyed her. Today, as we were having breakfast, I knew something was about to happen. Andrea put the newspaper down on the table, folded it carefully and looked at me with an expression I couldn't decipher. Her hands were still on the edges of the paper, as if she was looking for support from it. Then he spoke. "I have something to tell you," he said in a tone that tried to be calm, but betrayed his nervousness. I looked up from my coffee and remained silent, waiting for her to continue. "I'm listening," I finally said. She hesitated for a moment. Her fingers fiddled with the tablecloth and she seemed to be choosing her words carefully. Finally, she said, "I'm going to be gone for a month." It was as if a bucket of cold water fell on me. I tried to stay calm. "A month? Why?" I asked. Andrea took a deep breath before answering. "I'm going to stay with Paolo. It's his birthday month and I want everything to go well for him." I don't know if it was the way she said it, as if it was something completely normal, or the fact that she mentioned Paolo as if I didn't know who he was. I stared at her, trying to process what I had just heard. She continued talking, as if trying to justify or unjustifiable. "I know it sounds weird, but, after everything that's happened, I think it's the right thing to do," she added, as if she really believed that I did with her ex-husband for a month was a reasonable thing to do. I didn't say anything else. I just cut back in my chair and let her words sit. I stared at her and replied in a calm voice, but charged with intensity, "And what will you be doing there for a month? Cleaning his house, cooking his food and sleeping with him? Can't he pay a prostitute to do that and feel good? Why does my wife have to behave like one?" Andrea's eyes widened, clearly surprised. "What the hell are you talking about?" She replied with a tone that mixed disbelief and annoyance. "I'm not a prostitute or your maid. I will be there, as his wife." I placed my coffee cup on the table carefully, trying not to let my emotions get the better of me. In a firm voice, I told him, "But you are not. Will you do what you have planned with him without considering that you are betraying our marriage? Or do you think that's not being unfaithful?" Undeterred, Andrea looked me straight in the eye and replied, "No, I'm not cheating on you, because I already told you. I'm telling you straight up, so it doesn't count as cheating." I had to restrain myself from laughing at the absurdity of her logic. I nodded slowly and said, Well, then explain to me, what do you expect me to do? Stay here for 30 days while my wife plays house with another man? His frustration was evident, and his exasperated intake made it clear. I have some things I need help with, and only Paolo can help me. I knew exactly what he was referring to, because I had already seen it. I had read his messages and watched the videos. The images were etched in my mind, things I could never forget. As calmly as I could, I replied, "Help, like being tied to a bed and whipped with a whip. That's what you mean by help?" Andrea frowned, clearly uncomfortable, but did not respond. I kept my expression neutral, though inside I was seething. I looked directly at her and added, "So, you take care of your needs. What about mine? Can I take care of my needs too?" Andrea let out a frustrated sigh and threw up her hands as if giving up. "Do whatever you want. But when I return, you will be my husband again and you will be faithful as you have always been." I leaned forward and, with a steady tone, replied, "What if in those 30 days my wishes are not fulfilled? What if I find someone else who satisfies me and no longer wants to come back to you? Would that be okay with you?" Andrea pursed her lips, and vetoed, but before she could respond, I turned my attention to Cabran, her daughter who had been silently observing the entire conversation. "What do you think, Karen?" I asked in a firm voice. "Do you think your mother should risk her marriage for a month with her new lover?" Karen looked at me with an arrogant smile and replied in a defiant tone, "She has her needs and desires. You do not own her. She is not your slave, and she is free to pursue whatever she wants, wherever she wants." Karen's words were like a slap in the face. He wasn't just supporting his mother, he was celebrating. Her tone made it clear she wasn't on my side. She knew everything. She knew what Andrea was planning there. To top it off, she was also going to Paolo's house. I felt a knot in my stomach, but I kept my composure. I raised my hands in a gesture of blessing and said, "Since you're both so determined, I'm not going to be an obstacle. Do what you want." Andrew posed a smile of triumph that hurt me more than any words I could say. But I wasn't finished. In a deliberate voice, I continued, "However, Andrea, I want you to sign a document stating that we will be legally separated for those 30 days. I will not be responsible for you or your daughter, financially or otherwise. And, furthermore, I will also be free to do whatever I want during that time." Andrea squinted at me, clearly skeptic. "How would that work?" he asked with a cold tone. I settled back in my chair and kept my cool. "I'll call my lawyer right now to draw up the documents. Tomorrow we'll go to the courthouse and make it official. It's simple. That way you can go and be with whomever you want, and it won't count as cheating, since we'll be separated." Noticing my reassurance, her eyes narrowed, and with a distrustful tone she asked me, "Why are you so okay with this?" I slowly rose from my seat and looked at her firmly, "Because, Andrea, your words made it clear that you weren't going to stop. So I don't see the need to propose. Besides, honestly, I may as well take this opportunity to take care of my own desires." Karen, her daughter, interjected with a haughty smile. "Mom, that's a good idea. I didn't know he could support you in this way." I looked at her calmly and smiled back, loaded with irony. Without another word, I left the room. With my phone in hand, I called my lawyer and explained what I needed. He was straight to the point. I wanted an agreement that made everything clear and could be formalized immediately. That same afternoon, my lawyer was in our living room across from Andrea, with the documents ready. The papers were neatly arranged on the table, but she didn't even bother to read them. She simply took the pen and signed them with a confidence that almost seemed like arrogance. I leaned back in my chair as I watched her sign. A small smile formed on my lips as I finished saying, "It's done. Tomorrow it will be official." Later that night, I told Andrea I was going out for a drink. I didn't bother to explain myself or make excuses. I just left. By the time I got back, it was already quite late. I wasn't drunk, but I wanted to avoid any conversation with her. The next morning we were in court. Andrea was calm, even confident. When the judge reviewed the documents, he looked up and asked her, "Ms. Wilson, did you review this document with your attorney?" According to this agreement, for the next 30 days your husband will not be responsible for you or your daughter, financially or otherwise. In addition, he will be able to do whatever he wants without it counting as a fault in your marriage. Do you agree with this?" Without hesitation, Andrea felt and answered firmly, "Yes, Your Honor." The judge simply shrugged his shoulders and said, "Okay." That night, Andrea was in our room, packing her bags with an energy I hadn't seen in months. Her face was lit up, as if she had just won the lottery. I stood in the doorway, watching her with my arms folded. She looked at me, almost overflowing with enthusiasm, and said, "Thank you. Pran, you have no idea how happy I am. I promise I will make it up to you when I return." Her words were almost ridiculous, but I forced myself to keep my composure. I just responded with a slight smile and said, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll make sure I'll be happy too." With that, I turned and walked out. When she finally left, accompanied by her daughter, I made sure to wave goodbye. It was the last time she would see in that gesture from me. Once they walked away, I walked to the kitchen, pulled out a bottle of Jack Daniels, poured myself a glass and added some ice cubes. I took a sip, letting the warmth of the alcohol slide down my throat. Just then, I picked up the phone and dialed a number. "It's all set," I said in a firm voice. "It's time to start the show." The next morning, I woke up with a clear plan. There was a lot to do and I decided to start with something symbolic, the cars. First, the car I had bought for Karen, Andrea's daughter, was a man I adored, although she had complained about the color when I gave it to her. "It's not my favorite," she had said at the time, but she still used it every day. Well, now he could choose whatever color he wanted for his next car, hopefully one that his dad, Paolo, would buy for him. So I picked it up and sold it. Then Andrea's car, one which I always bragged about as if it was the greatest act of generosity on my part. Every time she used it, she seemed to forget how hard I had gone out of my way to give it to her. Now, Bono could take care of his transportation. After all, for the next 30 days, he was the man in her life. I was no longer. Next was the house. She had always complained that it was too big, that they wanted something smaller, cozier, like Paolo's house. Well, since they were there, they could stay there permanently. She saw no reason for her to make it her problem again. By the end of the day, I had emptied the joint accounts. I had all the money I needed. I could finally attend to my own desires, with nothing and no one to hold me back. 3 days passed. The silence was almost peaceful. But then, my phone started ringing. It was Andrea. Her voice was trembling, trying to sound calm, but the panic was evident. "I called you at home, but no one's answering. Where are you?" she asked. I smiled as I took a sip of whiskey, enjoying the irony. "I'm attending to my needs," I replied calmly before hanging up, not giving him a chance to answer. That night, the calls continued. First it was Andrea, then Karen. Both were calling non-stop. I knew exactly why. If I had received the notices from the bank, the joint account was empty, the college fund gone. I could imagine the shock in their voices, but I didn't answer. I decided to let them stew in their own frustration for a while. It took 3 more days of constant calls before I finally answered. When I did, Andrea immediately started screaming. The insults, accusations, and pleas came all at once. "You are selfish. How could you do this? That doesn't belong to you." I let her vent, listening quietly until she finally ran out of words. Then I spoke in a calm, almost casual tone. "I guess this isn't a good time to talk. Goodbye." And I hung up. This went on for 5 days. Each call was more frantic than the last. But on the 6th day, something changed. When I answered, Andrea was no longer screaming. Her tone was different, calmer, though I could feel the tension behind every word. "Why did you take all the money?" she asked. I leaned back in my chair, enjoying the moment. "Well, living in a 5-star hotel in Jamaica costs a lot of money, Andrea. How do you think I paid for it? Your daughter's college fund was a big help," I said, letting every word sink in. That fun was for Karen, she clit, her voice cracking. How could you do this to her? I shrugged, though I knew she couldn't see me. My wish was that you would be faithful to me. But since that didn't come true, I opted for the next best wish, a dream vacation in Jamaica. Oh, and with a young blonde Russian girl to keep me company. I heard her voice crack as she began to scream again. You're not going to get away with this. When I get back, I will make you pay for this. I swear. I couldn't help but smile. His threats were predictable. Just as calmly, I replied, I guess you're upset. But I don't feel like dealing with this kind of drama right now. Before I could say anything else, I pressed the button to hang up. No more Andrea for today. When Cassie had been a month since Andrea left with Paolo, it was time to put the next phase of my plan into action. I was boarding the plane with a clear destination, Thailand. This wasn't just another getaway. It was something bigger. Way back when I was working as a software analyst, I had been offered a partnership at a company in Bangkok. At the time I turned it down because I didn't feel the need to change my life. But now, with nothing really tying me home, I thought, why not? I accepted the offer and was on my way. The long plane ride gave me time to reflect on everything that had brought me to this point. When the silks finally touched the ground, I felt a strange sense of relief. I had made my decision and moved on. After landing in Bangkok, I turned on my phone and called my lawyer. She's coming back today, please make sure you give her my gift, I said calmly. Everything was on track. That night, Andrea and Karen returned to what they used to call home. I couldn't help but imagine their faces when they saw what awaited them. At the door, a man was waiting for them with an envelope in hand. Andrea, with a mixture of confusion and fear on her face, opened the door and heard the man say, "Are you Mrs. Andrea?" She felt visibly uncomfortable. "You have been handed these documents," the man said as he held out the envelope. Before leaving, he took a picture of the moment as proof of delivery and walked away without another word. I can imagine the scene, Andrea, standing with the envelope in her hand, her face falling as tears began to flow. Karen, next to her, looked shocked. "Where's my car?" she asked, opening up in a shaky voice, staring at the empty driveway. As I expected, the calls began immediately. I let the phone ring as I relaxed in the comfort of my hotel room. Finally, after several attempts, I decided to answer. Andrea didn't give me time to talk. "You're a scumbag. This is all about jealousy. You're selfish." Her voice was a constant stream of insults, accusations, and rebukes. I didn't flinch. I let her talk until she finally paused. Then, in a firm voice, I asked her, "Did you open the other envelope?" The other end of the line was silent for a few seconds. I heard the sound of paper being opened. Inside were pictures of her and Paolo having sex, with time and place markings. There were even pictures of her tied to a bed. You knew all this?" Andrea asked, her voice trembling. "From the first time," I answered calmly. I could hear her processing the information, the truth rippling through her mind. "Since you decided to make your bed, Andrea, I made sure you could sleep in it," I added without emotion. She tried to interrupt him, but continue, "Once you decided to be unfaithful, you ended our marriage. Besides, why choose between a broken marriage and a vacation in Jamaica with someone more interesting?" I knew his insults would not stop, but my patience was not infinite. "I hope Paolo can take care of you. Oh, and by the way, the divorce will be processed for adultery. I left some money in the joint account. I hope that will be enough for you to start over." Her anger was palpable, but I no longer cared. Andrea lost control. "You didn't leave any money for Karen. How will she go to college?" "Is she my daughter?" I replied coldly. "Let her father, Paolo, take care of that." The phone went silent before I heard someone else pick it up. It was Karen. "You sold my car. You took my college fund," he shouted in desperation. I calmly replied, "No, I sold my car. And the college fund was mine too. Besides, as you said yourself, your mother can do what she wants." "Well, guess what, so can I." Without giving her a chance to respond, I hung up. A few days later, I learned that Andrea would try to fight the divorce. She claimed that I knew beforehand that she would be with Paolo and had approved it. My lawyer took it upon himself to dismantle that lie. He presented the time-stamped photos showing that Andrea had already been with Paolo before those agreed 30 days began. He also showed the receipts and invoices proving that I had spent the money on my vacation. Everything was in order. The judge, although visibly aware of the manipulation in the case, did not have much leeway to act. The whole process had been legally flawless. Finally, he ordered that the divorce be granted and that the old shelves be distributed. Andre tried to claim child support for Karen, but my lawyer immediately refuted this. Karen was not my biological or legally adopted daughter. The judge made it clear to Andrea that the case was closed. A month after the divorce, I learned from my mother that Andrea and Karen had moved in with Paolo. However, the reality was far from the fantasy they probably imagined. Paolo, true to his nature, continued his abusive behavior. Drunkenness and beatings were once again part of Andrea's life. Karen, for his part, went from the luxuries he once rubbed into walking or taking the bus to school. Everything they had taken for granted was now just a memory. As for Paolo, I gave him exactly what he wanted. Now, he had to take care of providing for his new family. I let him face the consequences of his actions. Sometimes, you have to be careful what you wish for, because it can come true.